All right, number 4 tells us that we need to sketch a rough graph, so essentially just sketch, so it doesn't need to be totally detailed, of the following polynomial. We've got this long polynomial looking thing. So before I talk about what this is going to look like, I want to find my zeros. I want to find my x-intercepts of where the graph crosses the x-axis. And to do that, I'm going to apply the zero product property, and I'm going to set each part of my equation equal to 0. So just take a second and write that down. X minus 1 equals 0, and x minus 7 equals 0. All right, so these will tell me my x-intercepts. So if I start here, will negative 3 ever equal 0? No, it will not. So I'm really going to ignore that. X plus 4 equals 0. I would subtract 4 to get x equals negative 4. X minus 1 equals 0. I would add 1 to get x equals a positive 1. And this one, I would add 7 to both sides to get x equals a positive 7. So, there we go. I've got all of my x-intercepts. So before I do anything, I'm going to make sure I can graph those correctly. So I've got negative 4 is approximately right there. I got a positive 1, which would be really close to the x-axis, or the y-axis, right about there. And I've got 7, which would probably be somewhere out there. All right. So now let's talk about the logistics of this thing. So if you notice, I have 3 zeros, and 3 is in fact an odd number. So that tells me that this is going to be an odd graph. And we know that if it's an odd graph, that ends point in opposite directions. Odd, opposite. That's kind of the way that we should think about it, is that they point in opposite directions. The last thing that we need in order to actually be able to sketch this is I need to take a look at my leading coefficient. And in this problem, that's up here at negative 3. And negative 3 is obviously negative, so I'm going to have a negative leading coefficient. So if it's a negative leading coefficient, that means that if the graph's going to kind of have a negative slope. If you don't know what slope means, I'd recommend talking to your teachers about that as soon as you possibly can. So if I know that, and we know what an odd negative leading coefficient looks like, I need to go through all of my points, and my ends are going to point in opposite directions. I know, it's a lot to take in. So I'm going to start up high. I'm going to make sure I go through all of my zeros, but we need to make sure we end going in opposite directions. There we go. That's all you have to do.